You're right, guys. So it's episode 2 of Muscle Owl Debates. This week, we thought we'd talk about carers and care supports as it's Carers Week. So 2 people that sort of can talk about the topic in great depth. Sara, you had a blog, the other day on your sister and how your sister is one of your main carers.
Yeah.
And Bernie, you care for your daughter as well?
That's right. Yes.
And both of these are in terms of the kind of an unpaid carer aspect, is that?
Yes.
As opposed to, Vivek and Michaela, you have kind of full-time, round-the-clock personal care from people externally, that kind of thing as well. Yeah. Vivek's not sure. He's
I'm kind of
sometimes she's outside. I don't want to bring her in right now. But yeah, Sara, do you wanna start off? Share your story.
Well, I have 3 primary carers: my mum, my dad, and my sister. My mum gets carers allowance, but really, my sister would do. Even though my mum's here day to day, like on my sister's days off, she would be the one who does most of the care. My dad does a lot too, but he works like a regular job. My mum works on a Thursday and Friday, and my sister works 30 hours a week, just random days. So between them, they all just share.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought, gosh, your sister, that's quite sort of significant. She does a 30-hour-a-week job, but then also care support on top of that.
Yeah.
So, and in terms of the care that you have or the care that you need, is that something that has kind of progressed? Has your conditions progressed or?
Not really, since I've been using a wheelchair like full time since I was about 10, and my condition hasn't really changed since then, just apart from not being able to walk anymore, and using a ventilator at night. Other than that, it's remained pretty much the same. It's more just her getting older and taking on more responsibility and being around more and wanting to do more that really has made her take on more rather than me needing more.
I see. And you mentioned as well that that's something that will probably develop over the coming months, that you might get a paid personal carer around. Is that something that's not happened before because it's hard to get, or is it?
It was kind of a personal choice. I never really thought about it until about 2 years ago, and then I started the process for independent living, and I wanted to get like professional carers before I move independent, so I could get used to it, because I've never had, not even in hospital, my parents have always stayed with me. The only thing close enough to that would be like classroom assistants in school, but they never really did like bathroom or anything like that. So I've never had anyone that I'm not really close with doing any kind of personal care. So I wanted to get used to that before my parents left, or I left my parents, but we weren't able to get funding for it because I live in a house with 3 adults. So that's why up until this point I've never had anything apart from my parents.
I see, because in fact it surprised me on reading your blog that your sister cares for you and does care work but doesn't get any care support allowance for that. Is that by choice, or is that just because it would be impossible? Because for me, coming from my brother having Duchenne and having lots of friends like Vivek or Solomon who might have more serious or severe needs, maybe around the clock, and have personal carers and care assistants, I'm always surprised to hear that there's so much sort of unpaid care work. And I mean, I sort of go back and forth in my mind between what's right and what's how things should be, because of course I think of a society where we should all look after each other, and a society where it's just, oh, you want me to do that for you, I'll do that. But then when it's needing to have that person there all the time in order to do that, that sort of creates an overlap there in my mind.
Well, because my mum, or she gets the carers allowance, she's always done since I was really young. It just kind of, we just stuck with that. Mm-hmm. And then that meant Eva didn't really have the choice. I think Eva also, she would prefer to work a regular job than having to keep her hours down to take care of me. And then just because that's like more strings attached to like her feeling obligated, or like it's like actually her job if she's also getting paid for it. I think that's part of it as well. But also it just, the carers allowance really wouldn't be enough. Like she gets more money having a regular job, and then you like just caring for me on top of it.
Yeah.
More financially better.
Yeah. Bernie, in your experiences, so I mean, you care for your daughter. How old's your daughter?
23.
3, I see.
23.
So, I mean, how extensive is the care that she needs and that you give?
Well, somebody really has to be here most of the time with Roma. You call my daughter Roma. If I go out, like I wouldn't want to be out any more than an hour. So, somebody always has to help Roma to the toilet. You know, it's personal care. Like she's not able to self-transfer, you know, onto the toilet or anything like that. Yeah. And she has problems with low blood sugar. Well, in the mornings, that's very important. I have to be very careful about that. And sorry.
So no, I was just going to say, so I mean, in terms of the way things will progress in the future for that, is that something that she's going to need kind of care around the clock? Is it something that you're going to be able to, you know, be there to accommodate for, or everything else like that?
Well, I'm sure I would say her needs will progress. Her condition is progressive, and it will, you know, it will. There's a drug on the horizon. That's another story. It might.
Yeah, sorry. Should we say as well? Your daughter has. Is it Morchio?
Yeah. Yes.
For which it was very similar. The scenario with Morchio getting the drug. Is it Vimizin or Vimizin?
Vimizin, that's right. Yeah.
And that was very similar scenario to the muscular dystrophy Duchenne scenario, where Translana was coming out, and you know, how was it going to get administered? In fact, that was administered on managed access agreement 6 months before Translana was as well. I mean, there's trouble with both of them still on there, with the agreements really getting pushed through. But I guess, like Duchenne, it is a progressive condition. What stage do you imagine that you would have to have a kind of a paid carer in? How much longer would you be able to be around the clock for her?
Well, what we actually do is, although I'm Roma's mother, I'm her carer, we actually do have agency staff.
Wow, I see. Wonderful.
One would come in the morning and shower Roma, and that's actually every day, every morning, which is great. And then we use direct payments too, for Roma to go out socially.
Yeah. Oh wow. Gosh.
Go shopping or whatever. Those things are available, but I always think you need a good social worker to help you with that sort of thing.
I see. Michaela, do you want to come in?
Yeah, I think we've heard probably the two extremes that there are. There's the whole extreme of all being family-based, and then you've got the extreme of all being agency or payments-based, if you like. And then you've got the split in the middle where it's a little bit of everything. I think most people sit in that middle category where you've got a little bit of help coming in that's paid and the rest is family. But I think the big thing is that people don't realise actually the strain on the families, and it can be, I think especially in the case of the more extreme side of progressive illness, that it is pretty constant, and someone that needs to be around all the time. And that is emotionally draining as well as physically draining. And carers are the unknown army of the world. There's thousands of thousands of people caring for family members or working as carers. And it's a hugely underdeveloped area that we forget about, and that we don't pay people the attention or the money that they need to make that work. And for her, it's like my mum and dad here, we owned a very well-known shop in Belfast, an ice cream shop. And it was famous. And when I was born, then mum and dad gave that up with me being diagnosed. And a lot of families in that position where they have to give up work to make that work for their kids. Mum and dad would have spent the day in the shop and the night with Martina, or the other way around, and then when I came along, we were like, we're not doing it with you. So it's a tricky balance, and there's a lot of discussion to be had around it.
Yeah, I see, and yours is a really interesting story too, because you again do have carers around the clock, but also your parents and your family are there, all the time for you as well. Vivek, I mean, that's another thing with you, Vivek. I see you have a really close relationship to your mother, and I guess I linked to what Sara was saying with you when Sara spoke about trust and trusting someone else. So has that been key for you, having your mum as a carer for a long time?
Yeah, I think trust, that is the main reason, because it's only until recently that I found the right carer that I trust to kind of look after me and do all my care. So it's good. I've always found it slightly difficult to find the right carer, because it's me and my mum. Our relationship has changed over the years, me and my mum. Like we are close, but I think now I've kind of grown up and I realised that I do want slightly different things, and I want my mum also to have a bit of a life and not always just have to look after me.
Yeah, that's the thing I think too. How far do when is it an obligation, and when is it how far does that stretch, and are the opportunities there to get carers in and that sort of thing. I guess, Bernie, what you were saying about having a good social worker as well, do you want to expand on that? Is that in terms of how personal care support is administered or how it's managed?
I think actually you need someone to tell you that these sorts of things are available. Like I had done my own research and all, and I knew that there was direct payments. I spent my life researching things, and it was me actually who said to the social worker about direct payments, and it said this quite a few times over the years. Now it wasn't easy, and then eventually, before Roma was transferred into adult services, then the social worker decided, right, we're going to have a look at direct payments, and then she also said then about agency care, which is probably maybe saying that to me then because she wouldn't have to stand over that, because the decision would have to be made by those in the adult services.
I see.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the biggest areas is when you're about to transition, the children's team go, oh, you can have this and this and this and this and this. And you tell us, and we're like, nah, you're not having none of that. There's this and there's this, not a battle that goes on, and I see it. And I remember my children's nurse coming out one day and went, honey, you need a new hoist. And she went and sorted me out a new hoist and went, oh, you don't give that to your care manager and adult services, she'll buy that for you. And right enough she did, because Julie was at her back phone, you need to buy this from Michaela Hollywood around the half your back. But do you see that depending on the staff that you're with, how well it goes, if you don't have the right team behind you, that right team, I really do mean multidisciplinary team, it doesn't work the way it should. For a carer to do their job, they need the right equipment around them. And that includes hoist, beds, slide sheets, whatever it might be. And without those, it doesn't work. It's like a well-oiled machine. It's almost like a production line in many ways. But without the right multidisciplinary team behind you, it doesn't work the way it should. That's something that I noticed as well coming through the transition, that all of a sudden when you're about 16, they go, oh, you heard of payments? We haven't, but here, sign up. And it was really interesting at the time.
In fact, what you say there is really interesting about transition. And in fact, that's probably something I would have said, it's one of the first things I'd have thought about when I'm thinking about carers and care support and everything, coming from, Duchenne background with my brother having Duchenne. Transition is something that's talked about endlessly. But what I guess Sara and Bernie, what your cases have just shown me is that actually, transition isn't something that is, it can happen at any time, and it can be different lengths, and there can be more than one transition. It can be cumulative over time, and it can almost sometimes rest on like when, how you feel about things. You might enter into it earlier or later depending on your own personal feelings and how things are. So, I mean, the problem I've always had with transition, particularly for young men with Duchenne, is Vivek, you can give your opinion on this.
Yeah, well,
is that, hang on a minute, Vivek, I've not finished my saying. But my opinion on, which is nowhere near as good as your opinion, Vivek, I'm sure. But my opinion is that, like, I lament the transition of Duchenne. And the nature of Duchenne, how it's the transition happens around about, the phase over into adulthood, but almost just before it. So I really lament that, because what I see is that a young boy will stop walking between the ages of 10 and 13, and therefore there'll be a 13-year-old young man who will actually be receiving not round-the-clock care, but you at 13 with Duchenne, you'll have to have help going to the toilet, have help to a certain extent eating food or preparing meals, that sort of stuff. In fact, if you did a PIP test, I guess, with a 13-year-old boy with Duchenne or 14, they would probably get top marks. I don't know, Michaela's looking like you could never get a young boy to do it.
I was more looking at the fly that was trying to fly towards me.
Good, as long as you weren't berating my idea.
No.
It's a severe disability for Duchenne at the age of 14, but because it's a boy and not a man, at the age of 14, it's still dealt with sort of exclusively in pretty much everything that I see, except unless you might have someone who helps you out at school, a sort of guide teacher. It's dealt with exclusively by the family. So there's not actually a huge change on your 16th birthday or your 18th birthday. The huge changes, a lot of them have already happened, and though it's still progressive. So I sort of lament that, because there is an undue sort of pressure put on the families, Duchenne families, because it's sort of like you need to go 2 steps forward to get one of the steps that you need each time. What do you think, Vivek?
Yeah, well, going back to my experience, I found it quite difficult with using care agencies to get my care. So it's been kind of me and my mum teaching the carers, and then they leave, and we can't train them to do the things that I need, like the more complicated care, like using a ventilator or using my peg and things like that. They can't do that. Whereas now we've got personal health budgets. We employed our own carer, and she can do everything that is necessary. So it's taken us about 10 years to find the right care. There was a period of time where me and my mum, we didn't have care for a year because we couldn't find the right person. That put a lot of strain on her and us, really. So now that we've got it, it's helpful.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. And in fact, that's probably one of the other sides to it, is that, if it's so hard to find external care support, then actually that's hard enough in itself, as well as sometimes the ability to be able to get the means to be able to pay people, or to be able to, because just going back to what I was mentioning about Duchenne, I always feel it's that you need to prove that you need it. You almost need to apply for a university degree before they even say, okay, well, now we'll find a carer that could do something. You almost need to get a job first before they almost go, okay, well, now we'll get you a carer that can see your needs around the clock for that. So I completely agree with you, Vivek. It's definitely a double faceted on, being able to get the right care you need, and then to be able to get the kind of the right people. I guess, Bernie, with you, is that, have you ever had issues with that maybe if one of the agency staff hasn't been able to, or you've had to spend extra time teaching them or telling them, or is the staff that you have, are they usually quite aware?
Well, I was actually really reluctant to use any agency care at the start. I would say, most people are a bit reluctant about it, a bit afraid of it. But to be honest, it has worked so well. The people that we have are great. There's generally one person who comes, or another one would come. That has worked out really well. And Roma's condition isn't, I wouldn't say it's not too complicated, so it wouldn't actually be too hard to learn what to do.
Yeah.
But
it's interesting you say as well you were reluctant at first, and then that kind of ebbed away. It seems there's also a transition too of the carers themselves to sort of let go over time and allow other people to take more responsibility. Was that something you felt on your behalf?
Yes, yeah. Very much. I was even I didn't even think about using agency care, but my social worker told me about it, and I thought, oh God, no, I couldn't do that. And Roma was a bit funny about it, although she was a wee bit more, a bit more happier about it than I was. But then when we started them, they come in gradually, and now they do every morning. They do an hour. Well, it's gone away down now to about half an hour every morning. But it was hard to, I don't know, it's not letting go, but it's because, and I'm sure everybody else knows this too, that maybe take it for granted, you do lose an awful lot of privacy.
Yeah.
Let alone Roma. I mean, we have all these different people coming in and out of the house, and sometimes it just drives me nuts. I don't like it, I can totally relate. And Michaela, you have loads of people in and out all the time. It's like an open door policy at your house.
Yeah, it's a bit like that. We have an 8-hour shift that starts at either 9 or 10 in the morning, depending on whether I'm working. And then a 4-hour shift that starts at 6. Soon to be a 5-hour shift that will start at either 5 or 6. And then an 8-hour shift that starts at 11. So it is a bit like a revolving door. With me, because I was with agency when I was a hospital, because I was with agency for such a long time and then switched to direct payments, it's a completely different thing for me now. I'm all my own girls are brought in, I hire them all myself. It's time consuming, and there's a lot of work that goes into that that people don't see. But I think at the end of it all works out that it's worth it. And even my agency staff were employed by direct payments. So I use my direct payment fund to pay for that. But I think the big thing overall is that family with me still need to be here. We still don't have the level of care that I need to let them be completely redundant. If you like, and like Mum was 38 when she had me, so she's not the young mother that she was when she had Martina by no means. And that takes its toll as well, and that has health impacts. And I heard the other day that people who care are 10 times more likely to have heart attack. Some real shocking figures about
statistic for Carers Week right there.
Yeah, there's some really shocking statistics too about diabetes and cancer that I can't remember off the top of my head. But they're all
We're
like
meant to be
way
positive in Carers Week. We're not meant to be telling them they're all going to die because of the good work that they're doing.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I think every government put more.
Bernie,
more
you're going to get a heart attack. Sarah, your sister's going to get diabetes. Right, anyway, this is done.
Yeah, but I think that just shows the lack of
your fault.
Yeah, it's our fault.
Sorry, go on.
No, I think if the government put the right support in place, no statistics would fall. There'd be less pressure, less round the clock, less people not going to bed. That's the one thing I think people don't see, especially with me, is that somebody's got to be in my room awake at all times, and they don't realise the pressure that puts.
In case you escape, though.
Yeah, since you have to start working. I think it's start walking to the top of the roof. But yeah, there's a lot. Like, I think people generally see someone like me, Vivek or Sara, go down the street, or Roma, go down the street in their chairs, and they'll go, "Oh, look at them! They can't walk," and they don't see the hundreds of other things that goes on in the background. It's like today at lunch. I had my lunch at work today. It took me 10 minutes to have my medication before I could eat. Things like that take time, and time that not everybody has, but at least if you've got to pay care, that's sorted. But Mum would probably have given me 3 hours to be cleaning the kitchen. So like, it's a different vibe, and it should make you self-sufficient at the end of the day. But it's a big jump to go from family to having really what are strangers in your house for the first time.
Yeah, just going back to the familial kind of care supports, which Carers Week does seem to focus most on. That's it's always something that's fascinated me, and something that's fascinated me as to people who do it so caringly and so well, because I sort of think the relationship between me and my brother growing up, he's only 4 years younger than me. We grew up, I lived there till the age of 18. In fact, I'm moving back there in a week's time, so I'll be living again with my brother, and I'll probably do stuff that would be called care work for him. But actually, I think there's a sort of the opposite kind of trust, actually. A lot of the time, my Andy would rather have an actual professional carer in there instead of me taking care.
That reminds me.
Peter's not like me.
I remember, who was it? Angela. She was hoisting me one day, and Mum went, pull her leg forward, meaning like pull it like straight out in front of me. She pulled it to the side. What's the thing trying to do? Break my leg. So yeah, I really like that sometimes. I think that's the
Andy's my brother, I grew up like punching him in the face, but at the same time, maybe a couple of the things that I did that day were also care work. So it's sort of like, that's probably why I've never given, actually familial care work, properly done, the kind of voice that it's ever needed, because I sort of look at my own experience and I think, now that can't be considered care work. But that's the thing. It's just so broad, and there's so many lines. And again, there's so many things. People in similar situations who want differing things. People in very different situations who want completely similar. In fact, I think there's 5 of us here, and we all have very, very, very different experiences and very, very different views and ideas and everything. I think that's.
I want a car that just stands beside me and swats all the flies.
Jokes. Vivek, what were you saying?
I just want to bring in the side of family members that maybe don't want to care for you.
Are you going to have a go at me now for not carrying her off my own?
Yeah, because
there's
personally,
this right bugger. He's called Pete Duffy. No, sorry. Go on, Vivek.
yeah, because personally, my dad left. My parents got a divorce because of kind of in Asian culture, there's like negative stereotypes of disability. So my parents got a divorce and he kind of left. He didn't want to look after me. So I just want to bring in that some family members may not want to really care for you. But there's a lot of them that do, which is good. But I think it's not always easy for families to help you.
Yeah. No, that's
This is the perfect time for me to tell a really good story. I spent a lot of my
just said a very serious story, and you're going to come in with a very good story. Go on.
I spent a lot of time in hospital, and
over the years, gets better.
Over the years, we've seen a lot of families come in and out that were either really attentive to their kids or really not attentive to their kids. And one of the families that was really not attentive to their kids, it's had a really epic story. There was a hospital with Bernie and Sara, maybe you might know her from the zoo in Northern Ireland.
The zoo?
And it was
that one hospital. They just put you in with the monkey house. Shut you up.
Exactly. Right?
Is there a hospital called the zoo?
No, zoo. L-I-Z-O-O.
Okay,
that one, yes.
yeah, they call it the zoo too.
Yeah, this
zoo.
It was Lisbon, yeah. No, they had this hospital called the zoo, and they brought this family in, and the mother was really attentive, and her son had met meningitis multiple times. And they were like, this rehab program isn't working, we want to send them to a hospital that can deal with his issues. And they call it the zoo. And his dad jumped off and went, what are you going to put him in a cage for?
Oh, I told you joke before the end. I told him,
But that was one. And then there was another one where this family were related to the royal family. And
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to read too much in case we're in line of fire. But this child was really unwell. And the mum would come in and she'd come down to see the child, and the child 9 times out of 10, where was he? On my dad's knee.
Oh.
So like it was really strange to see the difference in the care among different people.
Because they did.
There was another.
Because they were terrible royal family people.
And then the one
an anti-loyalist.
Definitely not. But one of the ones that I became closest to was actually from Manchester, and they came over from Manchester and they're trying to get lockdown. And Bernie, his mum, would have been around all the time, and it was her that addicted me to tea, but like she literally fed the whole ward with every cup of tea she could have fashioned out of thin air. So it was really strange. I saw literally every type of character that either accepted disability really well or just couldn't accept it at all. And sometimes you've seen it within one family. It was really strange. But
that's a really interesting side and a really interesting turn that you two have taken to things right near the end of the show, to say that actually, the focus of care work for someone with a disability isn't simply just something of compassion or simply something that's just natural, I'm going to help you out. But it's actually often something that, it's accepting a disability first, which, although so normal to me, is, can be so alien to so many people and something that just they completely reject. I mean, the story of your father and, other bits of your family, Vivek, is always quite striking to me because, those are barriers and boundaries that quite often you're looking straight over. You don't even realize that they're there.
Yeah, I think because I've got quite a few Asian friends with muscular dystrophy, and they've kind of got quite similar stories. To me, it's usually the fathers are just, they don't look at you as worth anything really, which is really bad. But there are some that kind of aren't that bothered. It's just, it depends how bothered they are with the culture of the society that they can't really accept because they're small-minded.
And so would you say that puts more pressure on the mothers, or more pressure on the people themselves, because the care support, the familial care support, which is, I mean, in Duchenne, quite often something that's just so omnipresent, so ever present, just really isn't there?
It isn't.
Do you think the lack of care support is really key there?
Well, I think it is key. But the thing is, in my family, it's been mostly me. When my mum's caring for me, I've been counselling her and helping her through. So kind of both ways, that when she's caring for me, I'm caring for her. So that's how we've become that close over time.
I liked the way you explained that when we were hanging out on the weekend, actually. You said to me, a lot of the time I've sort of cared for my mum sort of mentally while she's been caring for me physically.
Yeah.
And that's a fantastic way of, looking at things. And, I'd never have seen it like that before.
That's also the reason I decided to probably get more care, kind of as appreciation, really.
You couldn't be bothered caring for your mum anymore.
Yeah, but she's fine now. She doesn't need me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I guess just kind of finishing off, I just think it's key to touch on as a final point how I felt, and one of the key reasons why I wanted to do this as a topic is that actually, Sara, reading your blog, I thought it was a really positive experience of care support, and so often in the sort of disability community, and working with other charities, muscular dystrophy charities, and everything else, everything about care support is quite negative. Well, not everything, but so much of it is quite negative. It's either people not being able to get the right hours, or people not being able to get the appropriate people, or just so. I don't, I never know, is that because we need to get that stuff sorted, or is that because it's the ubiquitous view of it? I thought your story gave a really great insight into a kind of care situation, which certainly from the outside looks very good. Yeah. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think it was also, I felt like it was important to point out, that carers do need support. Like, my sister has gone through some tough times being a carer, so I did try and make it as level as possible.
That's put in some negative points too.
Yeah, I felt like
you did, yeah.
Yeah, I felt like it was hard to kind of put into words the good points. I felt like I didn't put enough in, so I'm glad that it came across as a positive, because having her, really, I don't think I'd be the person that I am, or as happy, and if I didn't have her presence throughout my teenage years and my young adult life, because I didn't have paid support to take me places and things. And then there's also the added bonus of the fact that she genuinely enjoyed it too. So I'm glad it came across as a positive.
Yeah, no, definitely. One of the most positive caring experience I've ever read about. Because in fact, that was why I was reading it. And it was, sort of, one of the first few things you mentioned is that she's an unpaid carer. And immediately I'm thinking, oh, how terrible. Why is she not unpaid? She needs to be getting a wage for doing this thing. Let's start a campaign on change.org or something like that, But yeah, I mean, it just sounds like a fantastic story, and it's good to hear that because we don't hear enough positivity in this life. So yeah, guys, yeah. In fact, check out Sarah's blog. Really good. We'll post a link to it. Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you very much for the invite, and lovely to meet everybody.
Come back soon, please.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
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 Right, that's wonderful.